What's up, millennials? So last Sunday I held a live stream and one person asked me, how do you do your research on stocks and cryptocurrencies that you actually own? Well, in this video, I want to show you exactly that. I want to show you what kind of process I go through, what kind of tools I use, and of course, keep in mind that everyone's method is going to be different. I'm just going to show you how I usually do things. So the first tool that I use is a very advanced one. It is my head. I just think about the companies. I think about the future of these companies and of the sectors that they are actually working in. For example, if you think about electric vehicles, then you probably think, well, in 2030, in 10 years from now, it's likely that EVs are still going to be a major play, right? Also, I think cryptocurrencies are going to be more and more important during this decade as well. But on the other hand, if you think about oil, for example, well, that might actually go down and down and down. And also, if you think about shops that don't really have an online presence either, I also don't think that I should be very bullish on those kind of companies. Apart from that, I also just want to understand the companies and I want to be able to understand their products and their services as well, right? I'm not going to be an expert in these fields maybe, but I do think that I understand things like electric cars, charging stations, cryptocurrencies a little bit better than things like a luminous third generation long read human genome DNA sequencing method. So the question to you becomes then, what kind of companies do you understand? What kind of companies, services, products do you get and do you use in your daily life as well? So the first tool that I use very often, and I think like 80% of my knowledge comes from this tool, is of course YouTube. What I do is basically search for a certain sector. For example, if you want to go to drone stocks, right? Well, maybe you can type in best drone stocks. Best drone stock, let's see. Beautiful. So you have multiple videos. We've got a great video over here, for example, from a guy called Nesami or something like that. Great video, of course. And if you go through these videos, you're probably going to find some drone stocks that are appearing in all of these videos. So one of the drone stocks that's very popular is AgEagle, UAVS. So let's just actually take a look in YouTube, AgEagle stock. Then we can see that we get multiple videos about AgEagle. Of course, very good videos over here with a very handsome guy. I'm not entirely sure who that is. But then I simply go through some of these videos to see what kind of information they can tell me about that company. Some other websites I use are, for example, the Motley, which is this website over here. And right here you can search for companies. Or Yahoo Finance, pretty much the same thing. You also have a search bar over here where you can search for companies as well. And Seeking Alpha, basically the same thing as well. I recently actually purchased a yearly subscription for Seeking Alpha because I do think that there are some interesting articles on Seeking Alpha. You can search, for example, for, well, any stock. We can just talk about UAVS, so AgEagle, of course. If we click on that, we can see that you have multiple analyses from different people who write articles about this company. And you can have very bullish articles, you can have very bearish articles. And for me, that's very interesting because then you can actually, well, extract arguments from both sides of the conversation, so the bullish and the bearish side, and you can simply take out the information that you believe is relevant for your research. Another website that I use very frequently is the website of the SEC, which is the Securities and Exchange Commission. Here you can search for companies as well. You can search for ticker symbols. So let's actually go to a UAVS for AgEagle as well. And then you're going to get all of these filings that are filed at the SEC. The documents that I usually take a look at are the quarterly earnings, and the annual earnings as well. And these documents are called the 10Q for the quarterly earnings. Let's take a look. So then you have the selection of all the quarterly earnings for this company and the 10Ks, which are the annual reports. So if you click on that, if you click on documents, and then on this number over here, this form over here, you can see the 10K, so the annual report for this year for AgEagle in this case. You can, just take a look at all the information that's in here. It's quite a large document, as you're going to see. And it's going to take you quite some time to actually go through this, but you can just take a look at what kind of business we're talking about. You can take a look at their balance sheet. You can take a look at their income and their revenue, their expenses as well. I personally need to learn more on how to go through these documents relatively quickly to extract the most important information. But yeah, I think I'm going to learn a lot this year about exactly that. Another tool is Reddit, and honestly I don't really use it a lot, but I do think that sometimes you can actually find good information about companies. You do have to watch out because there's going to be a lot of information that is not so useful at all. But yeah, you can just type in, for example, Ag Eagle, and then you're going to find multiple threads about this company to see if there's anything of value to you. I also use Stocktwits quite a lot. This is like the Twitter of stocks, if you will. And I use this mainly to get a sense of the sentiment about a certain stock, about a certain company. You can also have, well, you have here like the graph of the sentiment. It's usually quite high, and this is at 99%. So I'm not sure if this is actually a useful tool to use. I haven't really used it myself. You can also take a look at the message volume to see how hot a stock has been in the past and is right now. But to get a sense of the sentiment, I usually take a look at the comments beneath over here, to simply see what kind of things people are saying. And what I usually do is I go through these comments and I try to find important information, solid information, but sometimes it's yeah, a little bit hard to do that, to be honest with you. But yeah, it still can be worth your time to get a sense of that sentiment. If we're talking about SPACs, for example, then I use this website, spactracks.com. Here you have multiple useful tools. First of all, you have SPAC profiles, which is basically a dossier of all these different SPACs. Let's take a look, for example, at SBE, right? So that is going to be ChargePoint. Okay, ChargePoint. So here you have important information. You can, for example, see the target presentation, so the investor presentation. You also have some important dates over here. So for example, when the S1 was filed, so an important document for SPACs, the IPO date when they actually went live, so that's on the 30th of July 2019. So that means that, well, usually SPACs have 2 years to complete a merger. So then you can say, okay, before July 30th of 2021, so this year, the SPAC actually needs to complete the merger. And here, for example, you can also see the merger date, or at least the date on which they're going to vote to approve the combination of their merger with ChargePoint. Then here in the tab of SEC filings, you're going to find important documents you can also go through. For SPACs, I usually take a look at the S4 filings. Let's actually take a look if we can find one. Yeah, so over here, you can see the S4 filing. Here you have a lot of important information. Not going to go through it right now because it takes quite a bit of time, but I believe this is the most important document. And I also usually take a look at the 8K documents. This is a document that is used to announce major company events that could also be important for your decision making. Apart from these SPAC profiles, you also have another tab over here which says calendar, which can also be quite useful, because here you can have a brief overview of what SPACs are going to do. So here, for example, we're right now on the 9th of February, of course, you can see that the SPAC INAQ is going to vote to approve their combination with Metromile. You can see that on Thursday, we're going to have the vote to approve the combination with ChargePoint from SBE, of course. So this is very important, or very useful rather, to take a look briefly at what kind of things SPACs are going to do in the future. And then the last tool that I use is Tradingview. Tradingview is what I use for technical analysis, to analyze the graph of a certain stock, a certain company. I'm not going to go through all of that, of course, but here you can, for example, make lists of stocks that you own. For example, I've got a list of cryptocurrencies, a list of companies that I don't know about just yet, a list of drone companies, a list of my portfolio. So you can make all these lists. Is quite useful, of course. And you can also have certain indicators like the RSI over here, stochastics, MACD, exponential moving averages. So you can put these all in graphs to use them for your technical analysis. And then when I've collected all that information, what I usually do right now is something I started doing a few weeks ago, actually, is I share the information with my Discord premium members. So I have a Discord that is free to join, but I also have a premium section where you can join and you get like additional stuff, additional videos, but also the information, the due diligence that I do, the research that I do as well. So as I said, I started this a few weeks ago. The goal is to have all the premium members share their due diligence as well. So we can have a certain like Wikipedia for stocks, if you will, the stocks that we like, of course. If you want to join, then you can go to nesami.com/member. You're going to find a little bit more information over there, and you're also going to be able to have a free month to start with. So that is my method, but I would actually like to hear from you as well, if you have any useful suggestions to do research on companies. Now, I hope you found some value in this video. If you did, please consider sharing this video with your friends who are also investing in the stock market. And with that being said, thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye-bye. Illumina's long read, Illumina's third generation, full Illumina's long read.